CNCF blog post that you just put out. I think there are some really key points that you make in there that I just wanted you to elaborate on. One of which is what I've heard you talk about quite a bit, and it is the idea of loosely coupled teams or tightly coupled teams, right? And can you explain to us what you're talking about there?
Sure. So again, my brain has been soaked in, you know, environments like the folks that we served at Stackstorm, like Netflix and others of their ilk. And what I saw there firsthand or secondhand, depending how you look at it, was that this loose coupling, which is actually in the definition of cloud native that the CNCF has on their GitHub and so forth. This loose coupling applies as much to teams as it does to technologies. So yes, openEBS, unlike a shared storage system, has a bunch of loosely coupled components. That's great. But maybe what's most important is it enables your teams to remain loosely coupled. And so the two pizza team that you hear about that communicates via APIs, not via interminable meetings, that's what we're enabling. And conversely, if you just say CSI, you know, I don't know, one API to rule them all, how hard can it be? We just pipe everything down into the shared storage system. Great. But that is a recipe, for discussions. Let's call them discussions about how do we want that shared storage system configured. That is a recipe for you have all these loosely coupled pieces so that you have resilience, right? If my microservice just craps out, you shouldn't be tightly coupled to me, right? That's the architecture. That's super. But if you then literally all of your data goes into one shared storage system and it craps out, you're out. You're out. Everything's out. All the resilience you built in, all of the, you know, service mesh stuff it doesn't matter. You have a hard outage. Your blast radius is enormous. So there's a variety of things around loose coupling. Loose coupling enables agility, buzzword bingo, but it enables these small teams to move fast without relying on each other. It also enables a level of resilience that still, maybe to this day, DevOps type architectures don't get enough credit for, but they should. Because if you run something like an openEBS on top of a shared storage, you have belt and suspenders. Your pants are not going to fall down here, right? You have the resilience up at our layer, and then if you also want data resilience at that layer, you have both. So it's an important concept.
Well, I think it's really interesting how you talk about this idea of you're evading, or you're not evading, but you're just taking out of the mix discussions, like that whole thing around, okay, we could have a discussion around this or a full-on argument, right? You're just going to take out that whole piece of the puzzle because it's not in it anymore. So I find that really interesting, and it goes along. It's more of it doesn't even have to do with tech, really, right? Like it's more of a cultural thing, and
right.
That's I find that brilliant. So
just quickly on that, funny anecdote, I think, is I remember chatting with Adrian Cockriff when he was at Netflix, right? And he's somebody who always has a great turn of phrase available, by the way. He's a brilliant guy. But and I asked him, like, Adrian, how do you do it? Like, I'm walking around Netflix. There doesn't seem to be a hierarchy per se here, as far as I can tell. We all know that about the culture there. You're a chief architect. How do you get them all to do what you think the right architecture is? How's that? And he said, no, I just imagine what I think the correct architecture is. I say that's what we're doing. And eventually people align in that direction if I'm right. So it's loose coupling, yeah, absolutely, to the people, and enabling the small team to do what they want. And openEBS does enable that. This whole pattern does.
Yeah, it's enabling that freedom.